Hi, I'm John and welcome to the Jigsaw Puzzler. Today's episode is a really fun puzzle. It's by a Crown brand puzzle, 1,000 pieces. It's called the 11th Hour. It's one of a series of puzzles that are images from books by Australian children's illustrator and author Graeme Base. Graeme Base lives in Melbourne and he has produced, look, I don't know how many children's books, beautifully illustrated. And this one is from his book, The 11th Hour. I have a copy of the book of my own, and it's my favourite book out of all of his books. But probably his most well-known book is this one, Animalia. This is an alphabet book, very highly detailed illustrations, depicting all sorts of details in the pictures. It comes with each page in this one is a letter of the alphabet. So here is A and B, beautiful blue butterflies basking by a babbling brook. And every detail in the illustration, or most of the details in the illustration, start with the letter B. So you can see butterflies and blue and babbling brook, but we have beetle and bear with a bonnet and bamboo. We have a barn, we have a baboon with a bassoon, we have reflections of all sorts of things, backgammon, a bicycle, all sorts of things starting with the letter B on that page. I have previously done a puzzle based on one of the letters in this book. I used to have the puzzle for the letter G, great green gorillas growing grapes in a gorgeous glass greenhouse. I don't know how many of the illustrations from Animalia have been turned into jigsaw puzzles, but quite a few I know have. And I have done G. I didn't make a video of it for this channel and I no longer have the puzzle, but I have done this illustration before. Probably the most well-known of the illustrations, both in terms of just the picture itself and the jigsaw puzzles, is the letter L. Lazy lions lounging in the local library. I have seen so many copies of this puzzle around, but I've never actually done one for myself. So Graeme Base's book Animalia has been made previously into many jigsaw puzzles. I don't know, following the whole alphabet, maybe not, but quite a number of the pages of that. But now we have one illustration from this one, The 11th Hour. As I said, it's part of a series. There was a puzzle with one page out of his book, The Last King of Angkor Wat, and there were a couple of others as well. But The 11th Hour caught my attention in a bookshop a couple of weeks ago, and so I thought, I really love The 11th Hour. I love Graeme Base's illustrations, and I thought, well, I'd love to do this one. And it was a real treat. So the page that it comes from is this one. It's called The Entry Hall. And as you can see, it's slightly different proportions from the puzzle. The puzzle is much wider, so the illustration has been modified to fit onto a longer, wider puzzle. The puzzle itself only goes up to about here, so the very top couple of centimetres is not actually on the puzzle, but the whole and a tiny sliver across the bottom is not there as well, to help kind of keep the proportions without stretching the image. All right, as I said, Graeme Base is an Australian author and illustrator. Magnificent drawings, highly detailed drawings. Lots and lots of busyness and activity in his pictures. I own two other of his books. Before I talk about The 11th Hour itself, I own two other of his books. This one, Enigma, and this one, The Jewelfish of Karnak. And all three of these books have something in common which really appeals to me, and I'm pretty sure would appeal to a lot of people who do jigsaw puzzles. And that is that these books are based on puzzles. They are filled with puzzles. The 11th Hour, if I can just find the blurb, I'll read this out to you. When Horace turns 11, he He celebrates in grand style by inviting his friends to a splendid party. There are games, there is fine music, and there is the promise of a magnificent feast to come. But little does Horace know that when the time comes for the birthday banquet, a most curious mystery will be revealed. None of the 11 animals is above suspicion when the clock strikes the 11th hour. All right, so let's talk about the story of the 11th hour, then we'll look at the puzzle. So Horace is the main character. Horace is an elephant, and he's turning 11, and he invites 11 friends to come to his birthday party. There is the swan, the cat, zebra, a rhinoceros, a pig, a mouse, two giraffes, they're twins, a tiger, and a crocodile. And they all come in fancy dress costumes. And the point of the 11th hour is basically to solve a mystery. The title of the book is actually The 11th Hour, A Curious Mystery. And it's like a crime story for kids. But every page is filled with clues and puzzles that readers need to solve in order to actually solve the puzzle of the story itself. So there are puzzles within puzzles. So on the page that we've got here, the entry hall, which is the subject of the puzzle, we have this mysterious writing around the top of the building, and it is letters that don't make any sense. They seem to be random letters. Some of them are black and some of them are red, and that's important. So there is a clue on every page. There are sometimes more than one, sometimes 3 or 4 clues on every page that you put together to add up the entire book to figure out who committed the crime in the story and how it was done. And hidden on each page are the key to solving the puzzles on that page. If we look around the border of this puzzle, we'll see just these little tiny tiles making their way around. And if you look closely at the tiles, you'll see occasionally there is a letter of the alphabet in the tiles. And it says, if we go round the edge, you'll see A, N, A, G, R, A, M, S. It spells out the word anagrams. And that's the key to solving the clues on this page. So we take that key and we apply it to the letters around here, and we discover that each one of these groups of letters is an anagram for a word. Now, I'm not going to unravel that clue and tell you the answer to it or any of the other codes in the book, but just to say that that's the key, this is the clue, and we can go from there and figure out what the clue says on this page. Nowhere in the book does it tell you the answer in the story. There is a hidden secret section at the back, a sealed section here at the back, which does in fact have the answers inside it, but it's best to keep that sealed and have the fun and try and solve all of the clues. Every single page in this book is filled with clues and mostly different kinds of codes to solve. Some of them are very difficult. Some of them are really obvious and easy. But all of them are really, really fun and stimulating things to do. And I like this kind of thing. This appeals to me. I liked codes as a kid. I liked sending messages in secret codes and all that kind of thing. And this really appeals to me. Yeah. And I have solved all of the codes in this book with another family member. We sat down and enjoyed ourselves over, I don't know, a couple of weeks, and slowly worked our way through them and figured out all of the answers to the clues, and then made our prediction and then checked our answer in the back. And it was a lot of fun. Absolutely a lot of fun. So if you like codes, if you like puzzles, then the 11th Hour is an absolute winner of a book for you. The Jewelfish of Karnak and Enigma both have puzzles and codes and things to be solved in them as well. So that's what appeals to me about them. All right, on with the puzzle. Now, when we opened the box, this was brand new. It was not bought secondhand. I bought this new. It was on sale in a bookshop and I couldn't resist. So I picked that up a couple of weeks ago. And inside the box is the puzzle and a poster, which is quite helpful, not having to keep referring to the box. The image on the front of the box is in fact the image on the puzzle, and there is also a more complete image on the back. It has more of the sides of the puzzle on the back image, and the back image is approximately, oh no, it's a tiny bit smaller than the poster. So you have a couple of options, at least 3 options for most of the puzzle to look at the picture. Really good quality box with this one. I'm very impressed with that. All right, so the picture itself, well, let's talk about the quality of the puzzle. It's quite shiny. I've got lights here. I did it under the lights, and it can be quite glary. The puzzle pieces are pretty thick. They hold together very nicely. I can pick that up very easily and put it down. So it's a good fit. Ribbon cut, many different piece shapes, many varieties of the normal piece shapes. So not challenging in that regard. Obviously it's a panorama size, so the dimensions are different from a regular 1,000-piece puzzle, but that's not actually a problem. It's just the fact of the shape of the puzzle. So it did help to pull the edge pieces out first to get some idea of the dimensions of this one. So yeah, I'd say that this is a pretty good quality puzzle. I was expecting it to be perhaps not such a good quality, and I'm pleasantly surprised at how good this one is. All right, so how did I tackle this puzzle? I pulled the edge pieces out first. I made several piles. If you look at the time lapse, I've made several piles of different things. If we look at the picture, there are some things which pop out really clearly. Firstly, the 2 blue sections here, through the front door of the house, looking to the outside, and this window over on the side. Those blue sections are really, really obvious. Secondly, the stripe of writing around the top here, where the puzzle clue lives. Really easy to pull out letters, and of course being letters we know which way up they go. The red ones go in the middle, the black ones go on the sides, they're angled differently. Super simple to put together once I got to the building stage, but I made a pile of the blue ones, a pile of the letters, a pile of the red that belongs mostly down here on the floor and also on the pig's sash. So I did the red, the blue, the writing, and this ceiling. The colours and shapes on this ceiling are quite distinctive. There are some other bits that look a little bit like it, but when you see the puzzle up close, you'll see what I mean, that this section of the ceiling is darker in tone, and the patterning is quite distinct. So I pulled those out. I made those piles and the edges. I did put the edge together. I had missed a few pieces. That's all right, they turned up. And did that, and then started piecing together the blue section, the red section, the writing, and the ceiling. So I just felt that I needed to get a good start on that, and it looked like the puzzle was coming together down the middle. After that, the things that popped out to me were the characters. In terms of distinctive patterns, we have the spots on the giraffes. So I made a pile of those. We've got the wings on the giraffe's costume, the green coloured wings, and the tutu. So I had piles for those. I had a pile for the zebra. Those zebra stripes are really easy to see in the box. The pig is the darkest coloured area, dark blue. So I actually made a pile of the dark blue. I had it all and didn't have his head, in fact, because it's pink. So I had the hat and the Admiral's costume that Oliver the pig is wearing in a pile. I had the tiger and this magnificent Native American feathered headdress that the tiger is wearing, Max the tiger. And then the skin, the scaly skin of Sam the crocodile. So I had all of those. I knew the swan was probably going to be hard, so I left her to one side, but just concentrated on these main elements. So I just worked animal by animal, essentially. The giraffes, the zebra, the pig, the tiger, the crocodile, and just put them approximately in place. This was the kind of puzzle that came together in bits. I didn't start on a section and just work on the next section and the next one. This came together in bits, and the bits eventually joined up, leaving gaps in between. There's a faded out section in the background that has got Horace and the rhinoceros, and I can't remember the rhino's name, in the background. The mouse wasn't too hard because the mouse, Kilroy, is on the carpet and has got some distinctive green and yellow stripes to him. Alexandra the cat, there's not very many pieces that go with her, and she's the really furry bit. So there's not a lot of fur on this puzzle. I've talked about some of the textures in a previous episode that we really find challenging, and fur is one of those. But her fur, there might be 12 pieces with fur on it for Alexandra. And then, of course, I really had to bite the bullet and move on to the swan. The swan takes up quite a bit of the picture. Probably the swan and the tiger are probably the most two prominent characters on the front of the on this image, and both have white feathers. The feathers for Max's headdress are quite distinctive. They've got black tips. They've got the red banding around the edge of it, so they're not too hard to distinguish from the swan. The swan has a jewel here and a very pale pink ribbon and a tiara. So she is the texture of that up close is much different to the feathers on the headdress of the tiger. Her beak and her eye are quite distinctive, and the tiara is quite distinctive. So I started with them and the jewel on her choker, and then worked my way around the edges of the swan and then filled in the gaps. I just was anticipating that she was going to be the most difficult character of all. Some of the background I wasn't really, once I'd done the characters, I was left with swathes of background, and I was a little bit unsure about how to proceed. I just sort of looked through the sorting trays to see what popped out to me, and a couple of things did. Firstly, these columns in the background with their distinctive stripes. They're very vertical stripes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. Not too many pieces in total, so I went through and looked for those and put those together. Then we have, on this side of the puzzle, we have 1, 2, 3 bands of architectural ornamentation on the inside of the arches. And they're a sort of a reddish brown colour, quite distinctive, and they have these elephant motifs in them. So I pulled all of those out and built those separately, then put them in place where they belonged. There is one on this side here, but I found when I was making Max the tiger, he's holding a spear with a red shaft, and I built the shaft, and that really put together the equivalent arch motifs on this side. So I didn't actually need to do anything with that on this side. It was already built. Then I went on to the insides of the arches with these architectural elements that have got a circle with an H in it, H for Horace, and inside a square that are kind of fancy patterns, and the two fancy front doors. From there, I was just left with small bits in between. The main motif above the door of the elephant in this kind of sun ray ornamentation, that became obvious after a while, the background in particular, so I put that together, and then there was 1 or 2 pieces of the elephant left to pull out. Not too difficult, but I then had to work on all the little gappy bits in between, and it just came together so easily. One of the first things I did, of course, was the little sign on sticky taped to the wall over here that says "To the Banquet Hall" and an arrow, and then it's got Graeme Base's autograph underneath it. So I always do writing, the writing around the edge, the writing on the poster, the writing on Max's name badge fairly early on, because writing is super easy to do, and it gives you some reference points then to attach other things and to get a sense of the scale of the puzzle. This was a really satisfying puzzle to do in many ways. Personally, because I love the 11th Hour, I know the story quite well. I know the answers to all the puzzles. I kind of have insider knowledge of this one because I have tackled it in the book format. But I also appreciate the fact that it's a puzzle about a puzzle, or a puzzle about a book full of puzzles, and that kind of appeals to me too. So, yeah, very satisfying puzzle in the end. I wouldn't mind doing some of the others in the series, but I'm satisfied with this one if it's the only one I ever get to. All right, we're going to have a time lapse. So if you'd like to hit like and subscribe, make a comment below. I've been getting some quite nice comments to respond to recently. So if you'd like to make your comment below on this puzzle, on Graeme Base's illustrations or his books, if you've read them, please do leave those comments below. Thank you for watching, and let's have the time lapse.